Hi, guys. Liz Detter, CEO of Selling with Service, and coming to you with another YouTube live training on how to get clients without a website or a strong online presence. So, I've been running Selling with Service for, as this iteration of the company, probably about 4 or 5 years. And prior to that, I was running actually a web design and marketing company. That's what got me out of corporate when I found out I was pregnant, so that I could be a work at home mom with and for my daughter. So she's 8.5 now. So it was about 9, almost 10 years ago. And I started that company because at the time of technology, web designers were, really charging, exorbitant fees, and you just didn't have to do that in order to get business. So I came across a kind of proprietary solution. It was like a franchise type company, and I was able to give small business owners a web platform that they were able to edit themselves. It was cost effective and that sort of thing. Over time, we went strong for about 3, 4 years, and then I pivoted into, God, I hate that word, but I um, refined who I was working with and my approach, and really have just doubled down kind of on the marketing, sales training, business coaching lane, et cetera, with Selling with Service. But the because technology changed, and there's things like GoDaddy to do websites and Wix and all that kind of stuff, and it's really good. But I say that because I'm someone who was selling websites, who was designing websites, and what I found while doing that, and one of the other reasons why I had to pivot is because it was out of integrity for me. A lot of people put the cart before the horse. They think if I build it, they will come. If I put a website up, I'll get clients. I have to have a website in order to be in business. And if you're taking that approach, the reality is you're probably putting up some semblance of an online brochure, and it's likely talking all about you, and it's probably very vague. And I would just challenge you to look at your website and replace your business name, replace your name with, Acme Company and Jane Doe. And you'll see that it really is generic. Most likely, I help clients and I help people and I help anyone. And there's a lot of that out there. So you don't have to have a website in order to get clients, because the other thing to remember is that people were doing business way before the internet. Right? I mean, think about that. People were doing business before we had websites, before social and all that other stuff. So just because websites are helpful and they're kind of a go-to, doesn't mean that you can't do business without it. I have a client who's doing amazing. A lot of the clients I have that do really, really well have really shitty websites, and that's okay because they're not getting their business from online. I teach them other ways to get business, and it's really easy because they don't have to mess around with the social, with the hiring a VA to do the techie stuff that they don't want to do. They don't have to do any of that. They can do that over time as it makes sense to communicate with broader groups of people, but out of the gate, it's not necessary. And the other reason why you want to not have a website early on and still get clients is because early stages in your service-based consulting, coaching, whatever practice you have, you might not fully be sure of who your exact target ideal audience is. You might not fully be sure of what exactly you're going to be doing with them. You kind of have a broad idea. I'm a health coach and I want to help people get healthy, right? That's so broad. You can't make a website around that because then you're Sally generic. So you don't have to do a website, and you do have to get clients because otherwise you don't have a business. So I'm going to walk you through in this training how to get clients without a website or without having a strong online presence. And the first thing that you have to kind of have an idea about, which I was just talking about, is that you have to have, and if you see me looking down, it's because I've got my notes in front of me. I am prepared for these things. Is that you have to have some idea, broad scope, of what problem you're solving and kind of for whom. You cannot be doing all things for all people, because when you're talking to anyone, you're talking to no one. When you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. People are going to zone out if they don't hear themselves in the conversation because they're going to think, I'm not in the right place. Let me go elsewhere. And that's okay. And if you want people to be attracted to you, you have to have some idea of kind of what problem are you solving and who are you solving it for? That can be, at this stage of the game, that can be as easy as, I'll use a client for example, an executive coach, and she thinks she wants to work with millennials. That's awesome. Excuse me while I have a sip. That was awesome. That was a great jumping off point. That gave us something to work with on a go forward. Okay. Step number two. So you've got an idea of kind of who you want to go after. As an executive coach who wants to work with millennials. So we're looking at someone who's going to have a professional profile, someone who's going to be a little bit younger in demographic, et cetera. So now you have to be comfortable with connecting on the phone with somebody else. This is not cold calls. I did another training on that. This is not about making cold calls. We don't do that. Nobody likes to receive them. Nobody likes to do them. So we don't do cold calls. But what I'm saying is that when I say client, I mean someone who you're going to work with fairly intimately, fairly closely with, get to know them, work in maybe close proximity, right now, social distancing, but work with them on some degree of closeness. And they're probably going to pay you something with a comma in it. So you need to have that rapport early and often in the relationship with the other human. So you have to be comfortable with the phone. And if you're not, I definitely have some trainings for you that can help to get you over that hump. And I would also, advise you to consider the type of business that you're stepping into. So, first step is you have to have some idea of the problem that you're solving and for whom. Second step is that you have to be comfortable connecting on the phone with other individuals. And the third part is, and this is the most important, is that you really have to be skilled at the art of intentional conversation. This is not babbling and girlfriend talk and connecting with somebody else and, hey, so great to hear from you, whatever. This is not that. And this also, conversely, is not a direct sales pitch where it's, hey, great to hear from you. Want to buy my thing? We don't do that here either because that's gross and slimy, and that is certainly not selling with service. So you have to know who you want to work with and what type of problem you want to solve for them. It's not going to be right. It's not going to be your forever. You're going to grow and evolve, and you have to start somewhere. So pick it, go after it. You have to be comfortable connecting with somebody on the phone because that is how you're going to build a rapport, build a relationship. If you don't have social, how else are you going to get them? Smoke signal. So you have to be comfortable on the phone. And then with that, you have to have some way to navigate that conversation, to command the flow of that conversation so that it's not a runaway train and it's not a sales pitch either. And I'm going to give you the formula for that. And I'm also going to give you a resource. The formula for how to kind of navigate a conversation, I break it down to, a lot of people say that a great conversation is like 50-50, who's talking, who's listening, 60-40, different degrees of that. But I feel that they're missing a really crucial element, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. It's my formula is three parts. It's 80, 15, 5. 80% of any conversation should be the other person talking, aka you listening on the phone in a conversation. 15% of any conversation, this is how you steer that conversation, is you asking questions. If Alex Trebek wouldn't allow it on Jeopardy, it does not leave your mouth. It has to be in the form of a question. Now, there's exceptions to that in the sales world, and in the business world. It can be, help me understand that better. Tell me more about that. Can you say that differently? I think I know what you're talking about. Those sort of things are not technically questions, but they fall under that 15% because the purpose of that part of the formula is to continue to extract information from the other person. Now, only 5% of any conversation that you are in command of for your business is really you talking. We get so weird about picking up the phone to have conversations with people because we have to figure out, well, what do we say? Right? Hi, how are you today? Right? You start there, and then clarity comes through action. Confusion comes from thought. The more you're sitting around thinking about what am I going to say, guess what you're not doing? You're not saying anything and you're not connecting with another human. But if you're in conversation, the words will come out. And guess what, guys? If they don't, hang up. Sorry. It's the truth. "Oh my god, I'm so sorry we got disconnected." Right? If you're freaking out that bad on a conversation, just hang up. It's not the end of the world. I'm on the phone with my friend every day on my walk. I have my AirPods in and I'll go to move my hair out of my, way or whatever, quarantine hair, don't care. And I whack my AirPod and just however I touch it, which I have to figure out one of these days, I hang up on her, right? It happens all the time. We do it all the time. You go to blow off a piece of dust on your phone and you end up hanging up on the person. So if you're that weird about getting on the phone, first of all, reconsider your client-based service business, but second of all, there's always a way out. Just hang up. So, but that's not going to get you a client, right? So you have to be skilled at the art of that conversation. So that formula that I just gave you is really, really, really useful, and we share it all throughout the conversation creation challenge. And then I have an entire sales script in the Sales School for Entrepreneurs, in the Close Clients Quickly system, an entire sales script that walks you through what questions to ask in what order, so that you're following the 80-15-5 formula. You have to use pivot questions, right? You have to be able to take it from conversation very seamlessly, very authentically, very genuinely, very in integrity with how you set the tone for the conversation. You have to use pivot questions to be able to move it from, shooting the breeze with somebody to getting a little bit more businessy to getting really businessy, right? You have to know what those words are, in what order, all of that sort of thing. And you have to be comfortable, if you're going to create a client, with co creating a close. You're not going to know exactly how to work with somebody when you're really new in your business, or you haven't worked with a client in a while, or you're kind of working with different people all over the place. You have to come to a point of really co creating a mutually beneficial solution with each other. This isn't about, I've got a program and I want to sell it to you, because now you're creating customers versus clients. And I talked about that in another training, where there's a big difference there. A client is someone you're working intimately with. You have a mutually beneficial reciprocal relationship, an exchange of dialogue. A customer is someone where you're like, here, buy my thing. Here's my product. Go away, whatever, right? It's a big difference between customer and clients. And we should have both of them in our business, right? I have some customers in sales school who are just there for the content. And I have other clients who started in sales school and are now working with me on a higher level. So it's different ways, different kind of things, but there is a distinction. So I'm going to wrap this up because I'm getting a little lengthy here. But the extended trainings for all of this are in the Conversation Creation Challenge, which is how you can start to have conversations with people. I walk you through all the steps in that. I walk you through the framework of the messaging to reach out to people so you're not doing sales calls. I walk you through the the framework of, I just totally had like a brain fart for a minute. I walk you through, it happens, right? I'm live. I walk you through how to navigate the conversation so that it doesn't exactly follow the 80-15-5 when you're having kind of a first conversation with somebody, but it follows some degree of that. And I provide you with the framework of how to have kind of that first introductory client conversation with someone, the questions to ask, the order, and I give you those powerful pivot questions. And then I also provide you with access to how to gain entry into the Sales School for Entrepreneurs, which gives you all of the scripts and the swipe files and that sort of thing. So that's how you create a client without having a website or a strong online presence. It's getting comfortable with the phone. It's, having some idea of what you're doing and kind of for whom, knowing who to go after, and then being skilled at the art of conversation. Because if you're not going to practice that, then you do need to consider some sort of online funnel Confusionsoft kind of solution. And if you don't want to do that, there is a way, and it's building up this conversation muscle. So hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and pop on over into the Conversation Creation Challenge, where we have more trainings, fluid conversations, and we'll be jumping in next week on Teaching Tuesday for more live content. So thanks for stopping by, and I will see you guys later. Bye.